you know, this will just be a kind of on-the-fly, spontaneous, quick look at some of these references. But I think it's possible, if you think back to that image that we just saw of the Lloyd's building by Richard Rogers, that it's obvious that Richard Rogers has an interest in this work that was done in the early years of the Soviet Union by, it was the term constructivism was coined by the Veznin brothers, who were very famous Russian architects at the turn of the century. And then they were working in a school called the Vyshetnas, and they were training young architects, among whom was Ivan Leonidov. And Leonidov was probably one of the most gifted of this whole generation. And you can see here's a kind of building that's doing a lot of what Iggy was just talking about in terms of its volume, but also in terms of how it reaches out into the city and the landscape around it. It's using a lot of these same formal devices. Iggy, why don't you just shop in there and find another one that you like?
Okay, well, can I pull it from a different...
Yeah, another architect, sure.
This is from Chernikov.
Right.
So, I mean, this one would probably, it's in Pinterest, of course. It figures.
But now Chernikov was actually much less well known and was actually trained as an engineer, I do believe, not an architect. Then Leonidov, his work, he published one book of prints, which have gone on to become incredibly famous. And these were one of the earliest looks at how 20th century industry could kind of remake and reconceptualize how architecture should look. Remember, most buildings being built at this time were still being built in masonry in a Beaux-Arts style. So this work was incredibly ambitious and looking over the horizon compared to what was being built. And I'll just point out, sometimes Chernikov was incredibly skilled at using axonometric and isometric projection, which the early modernists loved because it was a system of drawing that engineers and people that design machines used a lot. And then at the same time, he would also use 2- and 3-point perspective as well. And I think you can see here the same kind of fascination going back to the Lloyd's Bank of how a building might take on aspects of a machine, of a manufactured product, of something that celebrates its components rather than conceal them. All of that is kind of present here in this work. And it's also, obviously, like the Lloyd's Bank, incredibly heroic when you see it, either in a perspective drawing or in the city. I don't know how much farther we need to go with this.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's good. Let's end it there.
Okay. I'll stop the video.
Thanks for playing Chernikov. Excellent choice.